Good morning. This is Mother Mantis, and I am back with episode 2 of Dragon Bites, a new little series where I'm condensing Dragon Age lore into bite-size, quick and easy little videos so that you can get up to speed on Dragon Age lore before Veilguard comes out. Today, I'm going to talk about what will happen when the veil comes down. And I say when because I do believe that the veil is going to come down. At least part of it's going to come down. Despite the name of the new game being Veilguard, I think that it's a necessary thing. I think the veil's going to come down. So this is a hard one to pare down to short form video because it's a complex topic. There's just a crap ton, to use the technical term, lore. And there's a lot of theories that are floating around out there on the internet. So a lot of this is deductive reasoning on what seems most likely narratively, given all the story material that is out there, between the games, the books, the comics, the shows, etc. And I also don't claim to be the author of these theories either. There's a lot of lore theories out there. I don't think Solas really knows what's going to happen. He certainly did not anticipate what was going to happen when he put the veil up, so he already doesn't have a great track record of being able to anticipate the consequences of his actions. So let's talk about it.
Ooh, mommy.
So let's start with the elves and a little bit of information about them. Even before the veil, it appears that the Fade could only be accessed with magical help, hence the in-between places like the Crossroads and the Virta Thara. The elves created a place of common ground for spirits and corporeal beings to interact with each other easily. It is possible, however, that only the elite of Elfhanan were given instruction or access about the inner workings and powers of the Fade. And limiting commoners' access to magic knowledge would have made it easier for the Evanors to appear godlike in their abilities, which eventually became the crucible that produced the plan for the veil in the first place. The foci, or orbs, that were associated with all of the Evanors seem to have granted them greater access to the magical powers of the Fade, and perhaps powers beyond that. And as a side note, those orbs were mined from the Titans, which is something we're going to talk about in another video. The veil did not pop into existence instantly, like dropping a garage door into place. The spell took years, but years don't mean much when you're immortal. The ancient elves appear to have barely noticed the veil's creation at first, except for, of course, for those unfortunate elves who happened to be in the in-between places, like the Virta Thara, at the time the veil came into being. The change in the physical world, though, was subtle enough that the elves confused the absence of the Fade and the loss of their immortality with the arrival of the humans to the continent. They thought the arrival of the humans caused the loss of their immortality and much of their magic. Now, the Evanors would have quickly known, but since they were the target of the operation, I assumed they were dealt with right away, so for them it was a sudden calamity. Think of the veil like a dam regulating a river. Unless you swim in that river a lot, you aren't necessarily going to notice the changing water level right away. You might not notice at all until the water becomes low enough that people from other areas are now crossing into your land and causing you problems. Now imagine that dam suddenly gives way. All that water comes rushing back and would cause terrible but temporary damage, because the waters would eventually stabilize and return to the levels before the dam was built. But the damage in the short term would be massive. And how that damage would affect the various people groups might differ, though. Elves have a natural affinity for the Fade, but they've mingled so long with mortals, generations, that the Fade magic might not be as natural to them as it once was. However, they have the best chance of making the most successful adjustment, and they might even be able to rise up over time, as Solas is hoping they will. The dwarves lived in Thedas prior to the veil as well, which should give them a survival advantage, but there's some written evidence that the veil is part of the reason the Titans are dormant, and bringing the veil down might wake the Titans up. That might seem like a good thing. However, there's also written evidence that the dwarves were kind of a hive mind doing the will of the Titans before the war with the elves, and it's possible that the return of the Titans means the dwarves would be in danger of losing their free will. There's some evidence that the Kunari lived in Thetis before the Veil. We do see images of enslaved Kunari in the mosaics that the Inquisitor gathers from across Ferelden. Modern Kunari, however, seem to have developed ways to prevent their unconscious minds from entering the Fade at all. So it's really unclear regarding the Kunari whether this ability would make it easier or more difficult for the Kunari to survive the Fade if the Veil came down. As far as the Kunari goes, we really just don't know. The only race that are really clearly stated as arriving in Thetis after the creation of the Veil are humans. And there's pretty good evidence that humans do not do well without the Veil. Humans in particular would suffer the most by the removal of the Veil because they're the least immune to the negative effects of the Fade and are by far the most likely to be damaged by a flood of Fade power. So while there will be catastrophic damage among all people groups, when Solas says, "The return of my people means the end of yours," he's really primarily talking about the generations of humans who've settled in Thetis in the centuries since the Veil went up. If he gets the Veil down in even a portion of Thetis, it would provide a potentially unconquerable homeland for the elves, and it would put them in a position of immense power. But even more, it sets the stage for some really great storytelling because it means that the Evanuris are back, and that would be really interesting. Okay, I hope this was a little bit enlightening. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover, please let me know. And as always, enjoy your day.